Hello everyone and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all of the juicy PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games. That's right, Helix Plays Games. Got that right, Richie. That would normally be something I'd trip up on straight away. We've got a great show. We've got a great show lined up for you all, ladies and gentlemen out there, talking about December's PlayStation Plus games. Your PlayStation wrap-up for 2022, Spider-Man 2 news, Tomb Raider news, God of War news, and basically a shit ton of news because it's a busy, busy week out there in the world of PlayStation, and we've got it all broken down for you in this week's show. Don't forget, before we get into it all, like, subscribe, click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here at Helix Plays Games, because we've got kind of some news to share, Richie. And it's not really major news, but yes, you're joining myself, Chris, alongside my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie, for another fantastic PlayStation episode. Rob's not here because of train strikes. He's actually stranded at the opposite end of the country, but he will be back. So he's not here, not through sickness or absence or anything like that, just purely down to transportation infrastructure and people rightly striking for equal and fair pay. So shout out to those people. But as I said, a couple of changes to the channel before we do get into the thick of all the PlayStation news this week. You may have noticed some changes to the channel. Those folks in our Discord server do know this already, but essentially we felt it's time to do a bit of a shake-up, a bit of a rebrand. We were going to wait till the new year, but we've got some new content coming the new year, which we're about to explain to you. So we thought, let's just rip the plaster off, the Band-Aid as such, and get this thing going. So new branding, Helix Plays Games. We've basically got rid of the cloud element of our channel's name. Totally honest, the reason being is we feel like having cloud in the name deters people from the channel. Not that cloud gaming is bad all of a sudden or anything like that. It just feels like at the moment in the current climate, there's just not much happening. Amazon Luna still yet to get out of the USA, Stadia closing down. It's obviously a big part of Xbox's plans, but it unfortunately does get lost in the mix when it comes to Xbox news. PlayStation seemingly just aren't that interested still, and Nintendo just do what Nintendo do. Obviously, all the great work out there, GeForce Now and all those other companies like Boosteroid and stuff, they're doing the thing, Shadow, etc. But in terms of coverage and what people are searching for and helping out the algorithm, it's really not benefiting our channel's growth at all, and we can see that in our metrics. So anyone who's been a long-term fan of the channel will be very well aware that we do these shake-ups and refreshes, and we've done it through about 3 or 4 iterations now, and you've all been fantastic. You've supported us all the way. So just to reiterate, the channel's not changing at all other than the name and the logo. The content's staying the same, Talking the PS, XPass, CloudQuest, our live streams. The content in them probably still will just be cloud gaming content because, let's face it, Richie, it's easier and more convenient for us to just stream from the cloud. So we just want to reiterate that. Nothing's changing. And if anything, we're actually bringing you more content because in the new year, proud to announce, in kind of rebranding this, one of the reasons is we're going to be doing a new show, something a little bit different, something live with you folks. Come January 17th, I believe is the correct date, we are going to be launching our first ever non-gaming podcast show for a few weeks, and that is going to be called the ClickerCast. Our brand new The Last of Us podcast, breaking down the new HBO/Sky show that's going to go live in the new year. So every Monday in the UK, it goes live on Sky Atlantic, I believe it is. We're going to get together, me, Richie and Rob, on a Tuesday night, live with you, the wonderful audience, to basically break down the show, talk about its inspiration from the game, its similarities to the game, how good it hopefully is, what we think of the characters, Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, in comparison to Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, Neil Druckmann's influence. Basically, we're going to break down the whole show, break down the episode piece by piece, and talk about it, hopefully with you, the audience out there. And we thought,
basically, we're just going to nerd out, basically. We're going to watch the show, then nerd out of the show.
Absolutely. And it's a different avenue for us. It's something live, so it's not going to be scripted or anything. We're not going to have show notes. Well, we might have some show notes, but you know what I mean. But we wanted to involve you more, and it's very PlayStation-centric. It's PlayStation's kind of foray into TV adaptations. We had Uncharted earlier in the year. We know we've had the Ratchet and Clank movies, but with HBO's kind of gravitas that comes with it, a la Game of Thrones and stuff, it feels like the right time for us to flex ourselves a little bit and do something different. So check it out. Find it on Twitter at the ClickerCast. And it's all up there live, ready to go already now. It's been there for a few days if anyone's actually noticed it. But yes, so ClickerCast, Talking the PS, XPass, CloudQuest, the channel's the same, live streams, Let's Plays, all that jazz. We're just called Helix Plays Games now, because that's what we do, Richie. We play games.
Yeah.
We talk about games, and that's what we're here to do today. Talk about.
And we talk about things related to games now as well.
It's quite a complete full circle.
Yeah.
But our views and listens, of course, are here for Talking the PS, our weekly PlayStation show. So you'll hear our announcements all over the place. We'll put some posts out. But again, thank you very much for your wonderful support. And even though we're now titled Helix Plays Games, that doesn't change our Helix Heroes, Richie, because thankfully it still just all fits. It's almost like we thought it out. Helix Heroes, you're all wonderful. You're all awesome out there. 50 of you support us. We do have a new member returning. MJ Parks is back on the roster. Thankfully, you're back. We love you. We love you all. Joining us on the bronze tier, of course, just like you can support the channel, support our growth and change, because it takes big decisions sometimes to make these changes, and I feel like it's a good one. And for anyone out there who's still in love with Stadia,
I'm not even sure I would describe this as a change, more of just a tweak to the branding.
It is a tweak to the branding. And one thing I do want to point out as well, we did honour it in our logo, so we know our roots are with Stadia, RIP, next month. The logo, if you look closely, we've put in a gaming controller, and that is the Stadia controller. So the Stadia controller will live on beyond Stadia within our logo, because let's face it, no one's going to be using it anymore because it's practically redundant. And the colour scheme we've gone for the logo is the Stadia colours as well. So it's still in our gaming DNA, Richie, as such.
Well, it is. Like, Stadia is always going to be part of the legacy of this channel.
100%.
Yeah, so although we won't be probably talking about Stadia much in the future going forward, apart from in reference to, remember when that was a thing?
Like on live, like people talk about on live.
We do have at least one more stream for you guys coming next year.
We do. But like I said, it's all changed. It's all busy before the Christmas break, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting into it, of course. But let's get into the show. Richie, as I said, Rob's not here. All changes on the social fronts, but thank you out there. Starting off with what we've been playing. Richie, did you check out the Forspoken demo that we discussed briefly?
I did.
And did that encourage you to invest in buying it next January, or did it deter you from buying it next January?
I'd say it deterred me, to be honest, because it's not quite as good as I want it to be. I found the combat a bit clunky. Traversal feels great, like how swift you move from environments. Yeah, but I found combat just a bit clunky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just didn't okay. This feels like okay.
Did you find the demo did a bad job at just introducing you to what, like the game and the world? It
just dumps you into the world and go like he's 5 incredibly basic
movesets,
objectives. Well, just objectives, like
go here, do this,
and just go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. Oh, thank you for playing. It's like what?
Oh, did you actually reach the time limit on it?
No, I completed the list of objectives.
Ah, okay.
And then it's like, all right, you can now go explore like the world if you want to. And it's like, I think it was a bad demo rather than it's going to be a bad game. But the problem is, we know the start of next year is pretty stacked. I mean, even if you're including the end of this year for games I haven't got to.
Yeah.
Like The Witcher 3, we talked a bit about yesterday and talking on XPass.
Talking the XPass.
Talking the XPass. We're talking the XPass.
It's another show we're launching next year. No, it's not.
But with how much I love The Witcher 3 and how well that game's reviewing, it's got me tempted back. It's tempting me back in. So I was like, this is the sort of game that Forspoken's going up against, like, for my time. Like, next year is like... It's kind of the gaming problem 101, is that we've been saying it for many times on all of our shows, that, like, gaming is getting to such, like, a pinnacle point where old games don't look old anymore, and they get patched and supported and updated the way they are in today's generation. Is you kind of have the window to grab people's attention is smaller than ever. And like you said, this is... time for Forspoken and High on Life and every other game that's came out this month. It's been eaten away by a game that's like 7-year-old now, because they just put out an update, a free update. So that means people can go and buy it, people who already own it. And like you said, in The Witcher 3, it's reviewing really well, which is that it's got the nostalgia vibe to it. The new show's kicking off on Netflix. It's got a cross-media synergy. Henry Cavill's in the news. It's just like, it ticks every box to push you towards, just go back to The Witcher. It's not just The Witcher, it's like Last of Us as well.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get tempted. I think because we've got the Last of Us show coming next year, with the ClickerCast coming next year, you started your live stream. It's like, do I want to replay this? Yeah. It's like, there's so many like games like calling out me. And that's not even before we even touch like Game Pass stuff. It's like there's even things like Cyberpunk, like seem to keep constantly making the news. There's so many games out there. It's like Forspoken was looking great, but just didn't quite wow me when I played it. And that's the thing, is like, for full price, it's like a £70 game. I kind of feel like I want to be wowed.
World of Warcraft did.
Yeah. Like how when I first played World of Warcraft, you want, like, this is something special, where I don't know, from what I've felt for Forspoken, it feels like a low 8, high 7 maybe.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an absolutely pretty solid game, but it doesn't feel like it's going to have that little bit of magic to it.
Yeah,
unfortunately, despite having a lot of magic in the game.
It doesn't have a lot of magic, but it does have a lot of magic. Yeah, I enjoyed the demo. Again, I said my frustrations on it on last week's show, but the demo, if anything, made me rethink where my priorities will lie in the new year, and kind of, like you said...
That's the thing. That's what I was looking for, that rethink of priorities.
Yeah. And like you said, I've got the Last of Us playthrough. The first 3 hours are up on the channel now. I'm going to do actually, probably later today. This episode goes up on a Tuesday. I'm planning on probably playing a bit more tonight, so go check that out. ClickerCast next year. My wife wants to play through The Last of Us Part 2, leading up to the show as well. I'm in two minds whether or not she should jump into it because of events that happen in The Last of Us Part 2. I don't want that to predicate her thoughts on the show. You know what I mean? Because the show might get to certain events a lot later than the game necessarily does in the sequel. So
I think at best the show is going to like cover the like events of part 1.
Oh, I think they've already confirmed
they're not touching part 2 stuff.
They're not. But what I don't want to do is the impact of what happens in the sequel of the game to impact their thought process going into the TV show. But again,
they could actually. Some of the flashback stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly.
With Abby, they could kind of work that in,
like early doors or something.
So they're building.
Well, this is ClickerCast talk. This is
ClickerCast
talk. You save it for January, Rich. You save it for January. We've got a whole show dedicated to this with our audience out there every Tuesday. Tuesday is looking to be a big day over on the channel.
We might have to.
We might
have to start the ClickerCast a week
just
early,
to get out everything off our chest.
Right. Here's all of the things this show could be, kind of like that prelude to.
Now you're thinking. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a kind of pre-discussion. Or we can look at the trailers, see what our theories are based on. Yeah, it's a whole thing. We'll talk about this. But yeah, speaking of The Witcher, I've started it again, like officially next gen. I went through the whole, put the disc in, got the free update. It was trying to charge me $14.99 for a brief time, and then it fixed itself and all that jazz. But yes, I've been playing through. I've not done much. I've just done the initial opening on the hunt for Yennefer and such that I've played through before. But again, looks great, sounds great, makes me want to play more. I've got The Last of Us on the go. I've got High on Life now. We did a live stream this past Thursday on High of Life, available on Xbox Game Pass right now. We'll talk about more of that on XPass yesterday. But yeah, so much stuff. But let's get into the news, Richie, because it's a jam-packed show. We've only got 45 minutes to get into it. So over to you to introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka
the news. And our news this week, of course, is sponsored by our outstanding Helix Heroes. MJ Park's newest member, back to the channel, over 50 new supporters. On the bronze tier above, you get access to this very show early, CloudQuest early, stickers, badges next to your names, and maybe a bit more in the new year. So keep it locked, keep it tuned, and thank you for your patronage. Story number 1. PlayStation have revealed the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium member tier promotions for the month of December. We always get this kind of little mid-month update. On the road up to this festive season, we have a couple of games, starting with WWE 2K 2022. On the PlayStation 4 variant, we have Far Cry 5, Far Cry New Dawn, and Far Cry Primal, which is what video listeners are seeing now. Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, which we knew we were getting some Yakuza games as listed, I think, earlier in the year. One for you, Richie and Rob, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth Shadow of War, so that's both entries in the Middle-earth series. Gigantosaurus the Game, shout out to that game from Outright Games. The Escapist 2, Worms WMD, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire Ultimate Edition, Adventure Time Pirates of Enchiridion. They're all on PS4, so we've got a shed ton of games dropping on PS4 to play. On both PS4 and PS5, we have Mortal Shell, Judgment and Yakuza Like a Dragon, The Pedestrian, never heard that one before. Evil Genius 2, Ben 10 Power Trip, shout out to Ben 10. And on top of all that, Richie, if you're a premium subscriber, you'll also get some cheeky little classics added in there. You've got the PSP version of Ridge Racer 2, Heavenly Sword for PS3, Oddworld Abe's Exodus, the PlayStation 1 classic, and the PSP version of Pinball Heroes. And breathe. And breathe. That is a lot of games being added to the list, so I'll throw it over to you, Richie. In Rob's absence, I'm sure Rob would have went straight to the Middle-earth games, but I do want to toss it over to you. Any particular standout titles for you this month on this premium and extra list?
The Middle-earth games.
Do you own them already?
Yes, I have completed Shadow of Mordor. I never got the platinum, actually. Ooh. And I think Shadow of War was on PS Plus at some point. I definitely have it in my library. But that, I mean, if it was to me to sit down and you went, okay, Richie, tomorrow you get to play one of these games. Which game? You get to pick any of them. It's Shadow of War, because Shadow of War is literally on my backlog. Like, as I've said, when I talk about my backlog, it's not a list of games that I'm interested in playing. This is a list of games that at some point I 100% intend to play.
I would say, looking at that list, having played
Oddworld.
No. I played Oddworld. I've played Ridge Racer. We've played Worms. There's a video up on the channel.
We have.
I've platinumed all those 3 Far Cry games. I am a lapsed wrestling fan, but 2K22, I'm not going to jump in on my own. I feel like that's something I would always do with my brother or friends. So I would actually say the Shadow of War.
Rob's a bit of a lapsed wrestling fan, isn't he?
I think Rob's
there
still a big wrestling fan. So there might well be. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've sat down with Rob and jumped off the top rope in a Royal Rumble. So that could be a shout. That could be a shout, actually, here on Helix Plays Games, because it's not in the cloud as far as we're aware, but we'll get into that. Yeah, I'd say the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor would be my top pick, not only for quality, value, in terms of like value for time that you're going to get out of it, and also if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, they're fantastic. So they get my trophy for this particular month. Yeah. Disappointing on the PlayStation Classics front again. Like, my word. Ridge Racer, Heavenly Sword, Abe's Odyssey, Pinball Heroes. Like, there's a much bigger library these guys can pluck from.
I'm seriously considering, once my current premium subscription lapses, not going for premium anymore, because I just haven't got any benefit out of it. Like, literally none. Yeah,
I'm the same. Like, again, now we've both got Game Pass, and all the PlayStation kind of games are still kept behind it, like just the exclusive £70 outright thing. Like, I bought God of War, I bought Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, I mean, as an advocate of cloud gaming, that's why I was an advocate for premium. But PlayStation have just kind of
done nothing with it.
They don't even tell you if it's coming to cloud. That's the thing that, I mean, that's always going to annoy me.
Well, yeah, that's kind of it. So, like, on the list, you've got WWE 2K22 is the PlayStation 4 variant. So you're not getting the PS5 version for whatever reason. But
yeah,
I don't know if that can be streamed through the cloud until launch. And then I'll go into the library, and it may or may not fall into that cloud streaming category list.
And you go into the store, and you have to go to the triple dots to see if it's got the cloud thing. It's
and it
not
just
even
says like streaming, and it's like, that's just not accessible.
With the Xbox, first of all, with the Xbox side of things, they straight up have the cloud logo on there, on that little logo on their box art, so you know immediately. And even if they didn't have that, like when you go to play the game, and you give the option to install or play cloud just next to each other.
Yeah, it is.
It's these little tweaks that I want them to make.
Yeah, they need to do something again with, like, again, to compare it to Game Pass. Like, when we prep for streams on a Thursday, like for High on Life this last week, I literally went into it, booted up the Xbox app, found High on Life, and just looked for that little cloud. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh sweet, I don't have to download or install it. Whereas, yeah, on PlayStation, it just takes so much more effort. Like, even if I look at, like, the mobile app, there's nothing in the PlayStation mobile app to suggest, like, what I can play, what I can claim, what my tier benefits really are. It's just, it's very lackadaisical in their approach to it. And we kind of knew they were just going to mash PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus together, but it needs some refinement in the new year, and I hope they really do, like, focus and address it so we're not in this place consistently. But yeah, I don't feel like I've really got my benefit of premium. I think we both probably have it till June next year, like the summer when it rolled out.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure when mine.
Well, you upgraded when it rolled out, right? So it was for a year.
Yeah.
For the upgrade fee. So I think we're both probably June the 1st or whenever it rolled out. But we digress. Either way, if you've got PlayStation Extra and Premium, there's a whole slew of games coming your way. Let us know in the comments below what your top picks are from this month's batch rollout, and no doubt we'll get some more in the near future. One of the fun stories that did come out of this one, Richie, was actually that Toy Story 2, the PlayStation classic, Buzz Lightyear's To the Rescue, I believe it's called, was the most played PlayStation 1 classic on PlayStation Plus Premium. So, and it is a banger, I will say. Buzz Lightyear To the Rescue was a game I played a lot in my childhood back in 97 or 98, whenever it came out. It's kind of, it makes me think, I wonder what kind of metrics Disney is seeing from this and thinking, do we make another Toy Story game?
Do we make our own Disney Plus streaming game streaming?
I mean, that could be a whole other conversation, but
we've had that. We've had it.
Yeah,
it's in CloudQuest.
Because obviously, Ape Escape kind of had the big push, if you remember, for when PlayStation Classics were a thing, and then we know they've been really lazy. Same with the PS2 Classics; they've not really put anything out at all of merit. They've not announced anything new. But it's interesting, so many people have gone back to play Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear To the Rescue, and we've not had another Toy Story movie, so it must purely be nostalgia pulling people back in for this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan of
respect to Toy Story for that.
Respect to Toy Story, indeed, absolutely. Yeah. Disney Interactive Entertainment.
Because it seems like a bit of a deep cut, that one's like. I imagine there's a handful of people who like played it back in the day and go, and seeing the list, I want to jump back into that. But to be the number one played classic, that's impressive.
It's very impressive. What else was impressive is the PlayStation wrap-ups that dropped. Everyone got them. Text, email, follow the blog link or whatever. But for those who don't know, every year PlayStation do essentially a wrap-up of your year. It's kind of like a year in review, but it uses your own statistics and your own metrics. And I thought it'd be quite fun for us to just jump in and have
shames you.
It does shame you. It does shame you. It makes you realise how much of your life you spend playing video games. So I thought we'll just compare. We'll jump in. We'll compare. We'll have a look. Starting off then, Richie, have you got yours up?
I have.
Let's start at the top. Explore your score, as PlayStation say. So again, you guys can head over to the blog. I might put the link in the description actually if you want to go over and look at it. You basically just log in with your PSN account, and it breaks down how many hours you played, what your top games were, how many trophies you earned, and some other metrics. Richie, to explore your score, what was your total play time on PlayStation last year?
Now I want to preface this. Well, I've looked at some of like the top games on my list, and definitely haven't played that many hours of them. Mm-hmm. I think there's something to be said where sometimes, like, if you pause occasionally I leave my PlayStation on, like I'll go like to another room and then I'll forget, so it might be on for like extra hours. Yeah. Because my top played game, I certainly haven't played that length of time on. I haven't played a lot of it, but okay. So in total, I'm 513 hours.
513. Okay.
What are you?
My total playtime was 440 hours. What was your... I'm trying to think now. What was your top game?
Top game?
So your most
game
played game, yeah.
My most played game was Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. And apparently that was 151 hours, which it wasn't. 151
hours?
Yeah, I think it's close to 100, the real time for that. This is why I'm saying I definitely didn't. Yeah. 151 is like, that's like 2 runs of Persona 5.
Just two?
Yeah. Well, I could do it in less nowadays, but...
Yeah. Mine was Horizon Forbidden West, and my hours played was 75.
Again, 126. I think I've got a bad habit of just leaving my PlayStation on.
Do you know how much electricity costs nowadays, man?
I know.
Fool. You should be able to compare these numbers against your gas and electric bills and see what metrics.
The thing is, it's well established I play games slower than you. So we both got the Platinum Forbidden West. What was yours? 75. So I'm probably in the 90s, I reckon. Not 126. Okay.
It made up 17% of my annual playtime.
24 of mine.
A quarter of your year on Horizon Forbidden West, apparently. Yeah. Interesting.
I play through games slow.
Slow. Any other interesting metrics pop out for you from your list?
Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. I logged about 85 hours in that.
85.
Which, again, I think that's probably higher than it should be. But I think that one feels closer because I did get the platinum again. And played the Ishi Island DLC.
All right. Okay. Well,
but
actually,
I did the thing with Ghost of Tsushima where I actually started playing quite quick and then I slowed down. I fell into my normal pace of just like embracing the story.
So what were your top 5 then? So number 1 was
Trails of Heroes, Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel.
2,
Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
Yeah.
Number 4 is God of War Ragnarok, which I'm still playing.
Yeah.
About 33 hours in. I don't think that's going to take over Ghost of Tsushima by the time I platinum it, because it's like literally about 40-50 hours behind. And coming in at number 5, I want you to guess this one. See if you can take a guess.
Your number 5.
It's a game. It's a game I've played for the first time this year. I got the platinum on it, but it had been set on my backlog for a while.
Oh, I have not. My mind's gone totally blank. Give us a clue.
Uncharted.
Oh, which one? Lost Legacy.
It's come up saying Legacy of Thieves collection, but it's Lost Legacy.
In that. Cool.
Yeah.
My full list was very PlayStation exclusive centric. Number 1, as I said, was Horizon Forbidden West. 75 hours, 17% of my annual play time. In at number 2 was God of War Ragnarok. 57 hours, 12% of my annual play time, which was again very recent. In at number 3, The Last of Us Part 1. 45 hours logged, 10% of my annual play time. Again, I did get the platinum on that, and I have gone back to it to play it. I guess only this week, so it probably hasn't counted that. In at number 4, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. And this is a game that I gave up on. If you remember my frustrations on the platinum because how ridiculous and meticulous it got. I'm so glad because if you remember, our friend Jeff, he posted his wrap-up. His top game was Lego Skywalker Saga. I can't say it. Lego Skywalker Saga. 120 hours, I think he said. And I tapped out at 37.
I don't know why I'm making that noise. My top game's 151 hours.
But he didn't enjoy it necessarily because of how bad it was. So I tapped out at 37 hours. He continued to play that for the 70 plus hours just to get that damn platinum trophy. So that was a smart decision on my part, I think. 37 hours seems about right. And then in at number 5, I have the fantastic Plague Tale Requiem. 32 hours to complete to get the platinum on that one. 7%.
These all yours are games from this year.
They are.
Only two of mine are, and one of them is actually I'm still playing it.
What was your top genre then?
Top genre? Where's top genre? Let's go.
It just scroll down after your most played games. Mine was action adventure. No surprise. 402 hours playing an action adventure game.
Your favourite genre, role-playing games, which is not surprising considering Trails of Cold Steel is in there, Horizon's in there, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War. Mm-hmm. They've all got, Trails of Cold Steel is a straight-up RPG. The others have RPG elements in there.
And how many trophies did you get, Richie?
I got a grand total of 273.
Oh, those are rookie numbers, boy.
They are, but you've played a lot more games than me this year.
Have I?
On PlayStation, I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. I got 526, which I know I joke and say rookie. There's some PlayStation trophy channels that I follow who, my word, in terms of just hours played and
just Jeff's
dedication. Yeah. Again, shout out to Jeff. He's again out there with Platinum Jangus. His channel is. So many trophies. I think he clocked in like well over 1,000 plus trophies. Way more hours. I got 12 platinums this year, 62 gold, 122 silver, and 330 bronze trophies. So yeah, 12 platinums, which was actually an increase on last year. And I thought I'd had a quiet year. But as I said, Richie, I've decided to give up on the dirty platinums, the scummy platinums out there, the Retilica games and the My Name is Mayo games. I've matured beyond those now, so...
You realise that you basically it might only take you an hour to get the platinum, but that's an hour you could spend enjoying your life.
Exactly. My first trophy... Well, I do love these wrap-up things, because they do give you a good bit of insight. My first trophy was achieved on the 31st of July, 2010. And my most recent one was the platinum for God of War.
Right. My first trophy was Belly of the Beast from a game called Sports Friends. I have no idea what that
That
game
sounds
is.
like a cheap platinum game, Sports Friends.
I've never even heard of this.
Richie's favourite game of all time.
That was apparently in May. Oh, it's my first ever trophy is listed.
Yeah.
Not my first trophy this year.
Yeah.
So that was 2014. No wonder I have no memory of this thing.
Of this place.
That was probably probably didn't even own I don't think I owned a PlayStation then. I just had a PSN account. It was probably at yours.
I've never played that game. Don't bring me into this.
It'll be at someone's
house
or something. Yeah, at a party. Most recent one is Besties. I've got from God of War Ragnarok.
Besties, lovely. And then finally, PlayStation Plus games. Apparently, in 2022, PlayStation Plus granted me access to 768 games. Asterix, because you have to be on premium. And then your time with PlayStation Plus, 52 games added to my library. How many of them did I actually play? Probably like 2.
Only 52?
Yeah.
To your library? Mine's 98.
That's my time with PlayStation Plus in 2022. 52 added to my library.
98 monthly PS Plus games added to your library in 2022.
Huh.
That's a surprising discrepancy there.
I mean, yeah, because I claim every game every month, so if we're 52 weeks of the year, I mean, yeah, I should have claimed a lot more than that according to that. Because if there's 52, I guess it's months, isn't it? Yeah, that sounds about right. Either way, it's probably just an error or something. Then it goes on to basically break down the games you've claimed, which I think is ridiculous because, again, I haven't played half of these. But shout out to Stray. Stray's in there. A couple of shouts there. Yeah. 1 billion meows, 12 million things ruined, 635,000 baskets sunk, and 814,000 miles travelled in buckets.
I do like the silly metrics.
You know what? I do appreciate the style they put into these things. It does give a good overview of everything with your summary card, and again, some of the metrics might be skewed a little bit, but it's nice to look back and reflect at the end of the year on what we've played and what we have done. So, yeah, good work, PlayStation. Good work. Let us know in the comments below what your most played games are for the year, what your trophies are. Just break down your stats, total play time, top games, top trophies. We can ignore the PlayStation Plus stuff because we know no one really plays that. But anyway, Richie, moving on to the rest of the show. Lots of news. PlayStation we know they're going to get started. They had a little bit of a show at the Game Awards. They're in for a big 2023 with both hardware, VR, and new controllers in the form of the DualSense Edge, which I feel like everyone's forgot about. I think that launches in January, right? So you're not too far off that.
It's a niche product.
It is, but it's a hardware launch nonetheless. But I think what everyone is excited for is the games, and that comes in the form of this week. We've got PlayStation 5 is apparently teetering to release Spiderman 2 from Insomniac this autumn/fall. That comes as part of kind of PlayStation's year ahead blog post that went live this past week with a special message from Marvel's Insomniac, basically breaking down what's happening. And within that messaging, they said, we'll see Spider-Man 2 when it launches on PS5 in the fall of 2023, which means looks like we're getting Spider-Man 2, Richie, which has kind of sent the world into overdrive. And this actually came hot off the heels of the pre-order page for Spider-Man 2 went on the PlayStation Store temporarily. It popped up in some countries. I don't know if you saw this, which kind of led people to think, oh shit, it might be out like imminently. And it was just pre-orders.
No, it's a game like Spider-Man 2 is not going to be imminent. They're going to have a big build up. It's going to be next year's God of War.
It's essentially, yeah, absolutely. And what it did line in with though was a new trailer for the Into the Spider-Verse. So that dropped. So the next adventure of kind of the animated Sony Pictures movie, which by the way, one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. In fact, one of the best animated movies of all time. It's Into the Spider-Verse.
I think it is the best I think it is the best Spider-Man movie.
Even better than Tom Holland's outings and whatnot.
I love Tom Holland's outings. I think Into the Spider-Verse is fantastic.
It is a great movie. So did you check out the trailer?
I did.
Did you spot our special PlayStation Spider-Man friend in the trailer?
I did, but I will admit I didn't just watch I watched the trailer just once on my own, and then I watched the trailer breakdown. So I spotted it because I saw a breakdown.
Isn't it crazy how the world now is? We watch a trailer for something, and then we watch a 25-minute breakdown of what's in the trailer just to theorize about what will be in. Like, I've seen some breakdowns that are longer than the actual movies that they cover.
Well, there's a moment in like when the spider area with all the different Spider-Men. It's like. Yeah. That is like absolute. I want to pause and look around this sort of stuff. But
get your pen out, your marker pen.
Or I could watch someone else do that for me.
Yeah, let them do the hard work. Let them do the research. But yes, within the Spider-Verse movie trailer, go check it out. It looks absolutely fantastic. The art style, the frame rate, the stylization, it's all top notch. And within that, there's a moment where there's just loads of different Spider-Men in the Spider-Verse all walking around. And if you pause it, you can see Insomniac Spider-Man just walking around, I think, chatting with another Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, whoever it may be. And that confirms that Sony Insomniac Spider-Man is in the Spider-Verse, which I guess, no surprise, we've seen the Into the Spider-Verse suit was unlockable in Miles Morales, I believe. You could unlock the frame rate adjustment as part of the settings as well. But as you said, to go back to PlayStation, it's going to be another epic year for Spider-Man, it looks like, with movies and no doubt cartoons. MCU will probably have something in there at some point.
It feels like Sony want to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if there is another MCU. Is it another MCU Spider-Man next year?
They've not confirmed what Tom Holland's doing next, but we know at the end of the movie he's pretty much prepped for probably another standalone trilogy separate from all the Avengering, which is what I expect to happen.
Which I don't mind if they just go, you know what, we're going to do another trilogy of just Tom Holland being Spider-Man, but it's in the kind of, is it MCU, is it not? But like Spider-Man's not a big player in the MCU, but he's still in the MCU, and then they can tie him back in later.
Yeah, I think we want back to our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man after his crazy adventures in space with aliens and time travel. I think to get him back to just the little guy on the streets is what we want.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers for like the last film, but it's like
everyone's seen it.
It kind of ends up with like Tom Holland in that kind of, he's moved into like New York. Right? He's got a homemade suit. It's like everything before that now feels like a bit of a prequel.
Yeah, back to the roots. But in terms of Spider-Man 2, we know Venom's going to feature quite highly in the video game. I think he's going to be the main antagonist in it. And yeah, scheduled, slated for 2023. I hope it doesn't get pushed back, because Insomniac have been doing great stuff to put out. Like, we've got PlayStation's Spider-Man, then we got Miles Morales, and then we got Ratchet and Clank, and then now they're doing Wolverine and this, so that they seem to be turning on all cylinders over there. But yeah, very exciting within the blog post. They did kind of go into some other details, but it looks like it's slated for next fall, so get excited for that one. One of the other things that we might see some point around next summer or next fall, Richie, could in fact be a PlayStation hardware iteration, possibly in the form of a PS5 Pro. And this comes off of an article from Push Square saying that a revised PlayStation 5 hardware model with a detachable disc drive, which has leaked in the past, we have covered it on this show, is now out there in developers' hands. So according to some rumours, Tom Henderson, again, very reliable source from Insider Gaming, broke the news earlier this week, and we're now getting claims from two separate sources that the dev kits are actually out there and they work flawlessly. So this kind of leads me to suspect, Richie, that the PS5 Pro, because it's safe to say we're not getting a PS6 for a long, long time yet, the PS5 Pro might be just one unit, one SKU, with an option to attach a disc drive if you do want the physical hardware alternative.
I don't think this is going to be a Pro. I don't think the Pro's yet. What I think this is, sometimes they have this like slight iteration of like the console. You remember, like, if you go back to the PS1 era, you had the original PS1, then was it the PSX, which is like the more rounded
the little
version.
dinky one,
like, the smaller form factor, but it's still the same console. I think this is that. I think the detachable disc drive, I think the purpose behind that is probably manufacturing, because then they're only building one SKU of the base PlayStation and everything associated with it, and then there's just the disc drive, and then they're just like, okay, do you want a disc drive or not? Put the disc drive in the box, or don't put it in the box. I think that's what this is. This is just the slight form factor update. It'll probably have some tweaks, a bit more, probably maybe a bit more efficient, maybe a nicer form factor, like just small tweaks. But I wouldn't expect at this point there to be a Pro. Bear in mind, we are still in this kind of murky cross-generation stage. A Pro seems too early.
Okay. PS4 came out in 2013. PS4 Pro, 2016. So next November.
But it feels like this is going to be a longer generation than the last one, to be honest.
But again, from a hardware standpoint, is reducing yourself down to one SKU in a slimmer, maybe more efficient, power-efficient model, is that better for consumers and Sony?
What could happen is, here's what I think they'll probably do. They're going to make a new update to what the base PS5 is with the detachable disc drive. So you can choose whether you want it or not. It'll attach it. It'll look fantastic. But then when they bring out the PS5 Pro, they'll just bring out a new PS5 Pro base model, and you can just use the same disc drive.
That is, I guess with the
updating the base SKU first, you've set up your manufacturing in a way so now you'll have two SKUs of PlayStation, whether you've got the Pro or the base, and then the drive is just there.
That would be the best for all parties, because then anyone
get your Pritt stick and your tape and just stick it on the side.
Absolutely. And then I guess it opens the door for people who have the original base digital PS5 to then have an optional disc drive as well.
I hope that they think of that, and if there's an optional disc drive, that you can just cable it on to the discless version. Because if then you do want to upgrade to it, because you think they would, because then if you've got the discless version, you want to upgrade the disc version, if you could buy the disc drive separate with a cable,
makes sense.
You're going to make the purchase. Otherwise, you're probably going to go, oh, well, it's not worth it.
Absolutely. So PS5, detachable, discless, whatever it may be, or a PS5 Pro, in fact. We're expecting to hear some things about it in the future. It may even have something to do with PSVR 2 as well. Like, we don't know what them bundles are going to look like, if there's something like they can streamline the packaging and the bundles with that. So, again, big year ahead for PlayStation. We know that from both a hardware and a software front, so can't wait to see it. But not too long to wait. One of the things we also will be keeping an eye on is the news that Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider Studio, Crystal Dynamic, newly part of the Embracer Group, have announced this week that they have signed a deal with Amazon Games to support the development and publish the next mainline Tomb Raider game made in the Unreal Engine 5. The companies announced the partnership earlier on this week, saying they have reached an agreement under which Crystal Dynamics will develop a new multi-platform Tomb Raider title, with Amazon Games providing full support and publishing the game globally. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Tomb Raider trilogy. Everyone on the channel, viewers and listeners, know that. I absolutely adore the reboot trilogy. I hope they continue with this iteration of Lara. I don't think we need another reboot. We've had to wait quite a while as Crystal Dynamics went off and made the Avengers game. But now it looks like it's all back in-house. Crystal are focusing on Tomb Raider. Amazon. Bit of a curveball that came out this week. Of course, Amazon have Amazon Luna, so I'd like to think for all of our Luna gamers out there that this is a shoo-in that these games are definitively coming to your platform, because it's a bit of a mistake if they don't. Aside from the games, I think this is a definite shoo-in that we'll be seeing a Tomb Raider TV series on Amazon Prime TV. Yeah, it seems like an absolute... Why would you hash out this deal and not ask for the rights to a TV series? But back to the game, Richie. What do you think about Amazon Games publishing Tomb Raider? That seems such like... Imagine if I told you that 5 years ago, that Tomb Raider would be published by Amazon. What?
I think it's a smarter approach, actually, for Amazon to get into gaming properly by starting by publishing games. Because developing games, it takes a lot of know-how, a lot of people.
They know that from their own studios.
When it comes to publishing, there's a lot involved in it. Mm-hmm. But the largely just... I don't want to diminish the role of a publisher, to be honest, but I feel like I'm going to. Yeah, it's like
you're not making the product, you're shipping the product.
No, you're shipping the product, you're putting it out there, you're putting down the money so the developers can make it. You're taking a big financial risk.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an important role where I think it's a bit easier when Amazon are one of the wealthiest companies on the planet to be able to just we'll start by publishing games, we'll get known as a publishing company, and some of the profits of that we can feed back into our own development studios, hopefully feed back into Luna, because if this game doesn't come to Luna, what the hell are they doing? Because we know Amazon published games so far haven't really come to Luna.
Yeah, they have like New World,
which is
Digital
just
Cross.
mind-blowing. This is like Google Stadia stupidity.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think we've actually said it probably on a good couple of episodes of CloudQuest about Amazon's kind of like marketing branch, and you could see like for the month this game launches, every package that gets dispatched across the globe from Amazon has that kind of Amazon tape wrapped around the box of the envelope, and that has like play Tomb Raider now on Prime Gaming or Twitch or whatever console they wish to promote in line with the marketing. And obviously they've got the TV, so they could have synergy with that going, where the game version also exists in the TV show and vice versa. And of course, very different for Embracer Group. This is the first game that they'll be publishing with Crystal Dynamics since the purchase from Square Enix. And
this is one where I'd like to think if Amazon were if I was like head of like Luna and Amazon Games, what I'd be looking at with this deal is like, great, we've got Tomb Raider, we've got next Tomb Raider game, fantastic. That's a big set, that can be a big push for us. That's going on Luna Prime, so everyone who's got Amazon Prime will get that game on Amazon Luna.
We can hope.
Day and date, like unreleased. That's one of the stipulations I'm putting in the publishing agreement. It can go on other platforms. I'm not going to be that guy about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's given that thing to give people Luna a chance.
Absolutely. And if you're out there and you are curious about Tomb Raider's kind of history and Crystal Dynamics and where they've ended up, there's a fantastic, I watched it last week, one of the no-clip documentaries, Richie, actually covers Crystal Dynamics. It's about 50 minutes long, and it really goes into the history of like everything. But looking at the last Shadow of the Tomb Raider game, it was getting like 8s and 9s for like the finale of this like origin trilogy, and it's like, just don't suddenly take a step aside and think you have to rewrite everything again, because I don't think they have to, and I hope they don't do that,
especially if it's Crystal on it.
Yeah, because it's back to the main
main
devs.
I could kind of understand if it went to a new developer and they're just like, you know what, we've got our vision for how we want to tell that story with Lara over a course of several games. But this is back to Crystal Dynamics. You're the one who created this iteration of Lara.
Absolutely. So, interesting moves. Amazon making some moves, at least. We'll hear more about that.
They could Ash Ketchum.
What do you mean by
make
Ash?
This one last hurrah?
Ash Ketchum. That's such an odd...
Have you seen the news?
The Pokemon stuff,
news?
Yeah, I know, but is that not going to be a thing? You can Ash Ketchum someone. I think Lara's been going longer than Ash, right? I guess they're about the same time frame in terms of age, but she's...
So Tomb Raider continues without that, because there is rumours that like there'll be like a multiple person cast of multiple. That was one of the first
script drafts, that leaked. But the less said about that, the better from the script reading. Either way, though, we're not going to see the game for some time. So as with most things we discuss, we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, though, one of the things that did come out of kind of off the back of the Game Awards news, we've had loads of stories kind of sprinkle out there and get spread to the wind. God of War is seemingly not dying down. There is a God of War TV series that's been officially announced for Amazon Prime. So speaking of Amazon, it looks like they're out there making these deals for content all over the place. Prime Video has announced this past week that they'll officially order a God of War live action series in co-production with Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions label. Amazon Prime service says that the live action series will be an adaptation of the Santa Monica Studios sequel series, so it's going to be focused on the Norse mythology. Oh no, Richie doesn't like that. And the game will follow.
I do, but
the game will follow.
I think
Kratos.
I do like it because I think the new God of War last two games are by far the best in the series.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think there could be something to be said of going back to, like, you have a chance to go back to his origins and like bring Kratos to a new generation with like knowing where he ends up. Where I've always looked at the older God of War games as just angry man hitting things, like just action. You could do a bit with a TV show. You could do a bit more character development, develop his character, because there's some I've watched like some like breakdowns of the earlier games, and there's some actually really interesting story beats in there.
Oh, the stuff with his daughter.
That I think just maybe got with Calliope and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that. So it's like you have a chance, Amazon, to go back and tell Kratos a story right from the beginning again.
I completely agree. Two reasons I think behind it. One, in
Norse
modern, Norse is in right now, and I think modern audiences vibe with. We've had obviously all the Thor Ragnarok MCU stuff. We've got Vikings, all the TV series, and I think I feel like it's more compelling in today's pop culture consensus that I get why they would lean into that. Plus, it's what everyone's familiar with the game. So if you're a gamer out there and you're trying to pull on that audience, you're arguably going back like nearly 10 plus years to the Greek side of things. Whereas all the plaudits and the awards and stuff come from these last two entries, and they are very much Norse mythology centric. Second, if it does really well, you get an origin series which is based on Greek mythology, which just retcon fixes it by signing off a whole another 5 seasons of a separate show when it's younger Kratos and he's doing his adventures in Greece.
I can totally see why they've made that decision, but I just wish they made the riskier decision to go back to his origins and go, you know what, Greek mythology, he's going to fight Ares, he's going to go up against Zeus and Medusa, and like, there's some really good stuff in there.
Greek mythology is epic in its own right when compared to Norse mythology, but either way...
And you could maybe round the character a bit more.
Yeah, again, that's what the prequel series will do, I guess. It's got Wheel of Time's Rafe Judkins, who's going to serve as the showrunner and executive producer, while you've got Cory Barlog is there as executive producer as well. So kind of similar to the Last of Us HBO series, which I do like that they're actually involving the creative minds behind the video games rather than just straight up ignoring them and just doing their own interpretation and their own ideas. Because Corey and by proxy Neil from The Last of Us, they've just got that inherent depth analysis and understanding from like concept to inception from beginning to end, and I don't think you can have a better mind on a project than the people who created the revered thing that it's based on.
Oh, I've just thought of something. If you want that kind of full cross-pollination, you do the Greek stuff for like an anime instead.
Or flashbacks. Because
with the Greek stuff being a bit more like, in terms of action, just way over the top. I mean, there's still over the top stuff in the modern stuff, but you imagine what you could do with like the production values of like Cyberpunk Edge Runner or something.
So then, final point then, Richie, would you cast Christopher Judge and Sonny in this game? In this TV series, sorry.
If it's a live action, I don't know what the acting chops are like as actual.
Have you not seen Christopher Judge in Stargate?
I have definitely seen Stargate.
The guy with the big gold thing on his head. The bald guy with the gold thing is Christopher Judge.
The problem is he just doesn't look like Kratos as well. He looks a bit...
He could grow a beard. We'll see. And Sonny maybe is getting a little bit too old. Or he's already actually said in an interview this week that he'd love to do it. He's threw his hat in the ring, but he's very well aware that he's only getting older, and it traces of a certain naivety and youngness that...
If you were to do like a prequel anime series, absolutely 100% cast them both straight away. I wouldn't even...
Yeah, just get the voice.
Yeah, I'd go, hey guys, do you want to do this? And only if they said no would I start considering other people. For live action, you need someone who also looks the part.
Okay. So if they don't, I think they should do a Last of Us HBO show and cast Christopher Judge as Thor instead. Or Sonny as like a different god or a different character within the world.
Yeah, they'd be in it.
Sonny could be a squirrel.
Them in it.
Ratatoskr.
Yeah, I would absolutely 100% want them both in it.
Yeah.
But
that'd be cool.
Like how Troy Baker's in like Last of Us, like Laura Bailey's in Last of Us, but not as like Joel and Ellie.
Laura Bailey's in Last of Us Part 2.
Laura Bailey? Who plays Ellie again?
Ashley Johnson,
yeah.
I thought when you said Laura Bailey, I was like, she's in the sequel. But either way, you won't have to... Well, God of War's one thing. On the side from that, Richie, talking about casting, is Hideo Kojima coming out celebrating their studio's 7th anniversary already. Kojima Productions, 7 years. That feels like yesterday when he came out and announced on stage that he's launched his own studio. And now here we are, Death Stranding 2 in the works, revealed at the Game Awards. But off the back of that, Kojima Productions has also revealed it is going to partner with Hammerstone Studios to bring Death Stranding to the big screen. And Hideo Kojima is finally going to get a chance, Richie, finally after 30 years, 40 years in the industry, to produce alongside the Barbarian TV show's Alec Lebowski. And he's going to introduce some new characters, new elements to the series in a unique universe. Obviously, it's unclear yet who he's going to cast, but I guess Death Stranding's a slightly different one because the characters in Death Stranding literally look like the actors. Like Norman Reedus is Norman Reedus in Death Stranding. I mean, he's not playing Norman Reedus, but you know what I mean? Like, visually, he looks exactly like Norman Reedus, so that's got to be easy casting, right? Again, if Kojima wants to go for that one. But what do you think? I don't think a Death Stranding one would land as well as a God of War. I think it's a little bit, maybe... I don't know, when you're trying to sell this thing, it works as a video game because it's so crazy, but as a TV show, what do you think? Death Stranding? Where are your feelings on this one?
Is it a TV show or is it going to be a movie?
That's a good question. I've just read the article.
I almost feel like movie is a bit of a safer way to go on this, because it could just look like a really interesting action, like sci-fi action.
Yeah. I feel like
thriller.
Yeah. Now you've.
Well, I think with a TV show is because with Kojima's world building, like, is there enough plot to carry an entire series? Like, I haven't played Death Stranding, so I don't know. But I know Kojima, a lot of it, he lets his world do a lot of the talking. Which I don't think necessarily works that great in a TV show, when in the movie, it's more condensed. I could see this being like a 2.5 hour, like
Inception.
Really well reviewed.
Like, trippy as shit, but you leave going, damn. In the announcement they did say, we're thrilled to and be honoured to have the opportunity to partner with the brilliant and iconic Hideo Kojima on his first film adaptation. Unlike other big budget tentpole video game adaptations, this will be something far more intimate and grounded. Our goal is to redefine what a video game adaptation could be when you have creative and artistic freedom. This film will be an authentic Hideo Kojima production. So I think, now we've kind of talked and theorized, I think a movie would definitely be better for him to go maybe all in on his sci-fi wackiness. Also, I think for the budget, for some of the visuals that he likes to use, I don't think a TV budget would cut it.
Although nowadays, with the right backers, you can get TV budgets, which, like, look at Amazon's Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power is like... I think the idea of TV being low budget is now very much going out the window.
Yeah. Remember when video game things were bad? Like, video game... remember Doom with the rocking?
Well, because they were just
Nobody
cheap cashing.
that.
So nowadays, people are actually going, you know what, we can take the IP and do something, make it a good movie or a good TV show out of it, rather than just going, let's slap the Doom on a generic action film and
see where we go with it.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? I did see a meme on one of the PlayStation pages this week of the Resident Evil movies, and it said, like, Resident Evil movie, first one, great. And then it said Resident Evil, the reboot movies, worse than the original movie somehow. And then it had the TV show, and it was like worse than the original movie.
How?
So it was like, how has everything gone downhill from the first movie?
The first movie was not a great film. It was great in the sense of, this is a really fun zombie action film. I love that film.
Remember the laser moment?
Yeah.
When he's in there and he's like, right, how can we dodge this final one? And it splits into the cross.
It's one of them, like, it's one of them. It's in the kind of idea, like, realm of like the first Saw film, where it's like, is it a great film, or is it just like, this is kind of it got a unique premise that, like, people fell in love with?
Yeah.
But then after that, it just went downhill so quickly.
It did. But that first one was decent. Speaking of Resident Evil, though, Richie, Resident Evil Village.
You're
going to say that every time I say Resident Evil. No. I did it. Resident Evil Village will get free DLC, which we knew DLC was coming, but we didn't know it was going to be free, and it will launch as a PSVR 2 launch title. So for those out there who've played Village, you will know that the game can be played in first person and now third person, thanks to the expansion, the Rose DLC expansion. However, February 22nd, PSVR 2 will launch, and you'll be able to play the entire game for free with all additions as part of Village rollout. So we really enjoyed what we played for Resident Evil Village, Richie. We would have went back for the Rose DLC, and you would have played it in third person if it wasn't for Google Stadia shitting the bed.
That was the plan.
VR Resident Evil scares me. The concept of it scares me. I think this is terrific. It's a really good showcase for what VR can do. I know Biohazard scared me that much that I do not want to play it in VR.
As much as I don't like horror games, I think horror and VR works so well together because of that extra layer of immersion.
Yeah, a sound you hear behind you literally feels like it's behind you. And I don't like that. Yeah. And Village had some jump scares in it to begin with. I don't want that to be in front of my eyeballs that close when it's scaring the hell out of me. But Village, great game. One of my favourite horror games of all time. And experience it in VR too this coming February. Let us know in the comments below if you've actually pre-ordered it, because I don't know anyone. I think there's one or two folks in our Discord chat who've put in that they've got the pre-order in, but I don't know anybody in our real world friend circles who've actually showed that much interest. Or
no. We're at an age though, most of our friends in our real world circles have kids now.
That is true.
So
that is true.
Gaming time is a bit more limited, so an expensive peripheral becomes more difficult to justify.
VR headset.
When your kids need new shoes.
Food, school uniform, that kind of jazz. Yeah. One of the things that will have to wait a little bit longer was Hogwarts Legacy got some gameplay trailer, some footage that went out this week, and also in line with that news came a delay to the base PS4 version. So everyone's excited for Hogwarts Legacy. Comes out April the 4th for PlayStation 4 and Xbox. But, actually, wait there, scratch that. The dates are swapped around with that. I'm getting confused. 10th of February is when it launches on PS5. The delayed PS4 version is April 4th. And apparently it comes to Nintendo Switch in July. God knows what that's going to run like. Hogwarts Legacy, Richie, we've not actually touched in on it for a while. I watched the gameplay footage. It showed you the spell casting. It showed you riding around on the, I want to say hippogriff, but it's probably the wrong animal. It's been a long time since I watched Harry Potter. And it looks good. You know what? I watched the trailer. I watched the 30-minute breakdown with some of the devs. The spell casting looks cool. The open world looks great. It shifts seasonally based on like winter, summer, autumn and such. And I'm actually slowly but surely coming back around to this game. The more I see of it.
I need to watch this trailer because I'd seen it, I heard it drop, but I just kind of didn't watch it yet.
It looks like with it being a Warner Brothers studio, they've took a lot of inspiration from, funnily enough, the Batman Arkham and Shadow of War games in terms of some of the fighting. And
one of my criticisms of like the rollout for this is kind of being like they've shown us a lot, but without really showing us anything of any substance. Like, in terms of how the game plays. Mm-hmm. So now you're saying, like, it's actually got some solid gameplay elements, like, they're showing off. It's like, yeah, I need to actually watch this.
They look fun. And more importantly, when you listen to the devs in the video kind of talking about it, what impressed me with it is to kind of being true to the source material. And when they use is it Avacadabra? I've probably butchered that.
That
one, yeah. It's actually a one-hit kill.
Oh, cool.
But it's got, like, a really big, like, slowdown on the timer to reuse it, your cooldown.
Yeah.
Because obviously it kills everyone in one hit. So in some of the fight mechanics, you saw them doing like almost like a...
Does it tear your soul apart as well?
I don't know if it goes quite that far. But you can like use potions to kind of increase the cooldown. And it's got like loads of like mechanics within the base game. But it looked like there was basically fighting a bunch of bad guys in like an arena mode. And he just straight up saved that spell until the big troll, the boss fight at the end, just killed it in one hit. And it was like, that's kind of the point of the spell, though. Rather than going, oh, it's a boss, it can't be taken down in one hit. It was like, well, that's the rules of the world, so...
It's like, this is a powerful ability you have. We're not going to let you use that for this fight, because as far as the fight, it's like, if you want to ruin the fight for yourself, do it.
Yeah, and I like the thought of that. It's like real-world stuff. But again, set in the 1800s, long before Harry Potter, and I know we have a lot of Harry Potter fans.
I can see a lot of people actually using that spell as kind of like, I'm going to lose this fight, use that spell.
Yeah, you're on like your last dying things. It's like, right, I've been saving this one.
I hope I made a joke. I know I made a joke about tearing your soul apart. I hope that spell actually does have some tangible like consequences other than just a big cooldown.
Like
so like
poisoned or something.
Maybe it damages your overall health. Your max health just takes a hit. You lose 10 points of max health every time you use it.
I don't know if your wands are kind of degradable, like Zelda. It's like maybe your wands like snaps in half or some shit. But either way, what surprised me the most is that I was actually like, it intrigued me, and I was like, okay, comes out February. Yeah. With everything else next year, maybe this could trickle to the top. But we know Rob's going to be probably our big person who's going to be covering on the channel because his girlfriend.
His girlfriend wants to.
They're literally convinced to get a PlayStation 5 because of this game. So we shall see. Right, Richie, rounding out the show with some quick little bits of final news, just some decent little ones in there. Henry Cavill been in the news, as I mentioned this week, for some backwards and forwards stuff. He's no longer doing The Witcher, we know that. Apparently, as of this week, he's no longer doing Superman as well, which we thought he left The Witcher to go do Superman, but James Gunn's got different ideas for the DC. We won't get into that here. That could be a whole podcast unto itself. Yeah. However, announced this week, off the back of all this news, is Warhammer 40k rights secured by Amazon. It's a very Amazon-centric episode, and Henry Cavill is set to start and executive produce. So essentially revealed as part of the official Warhammer community website, Amazon has secured the global rights for Warhammer 40,000, the sci-fi universe created by Games Workshop. The agreement encompasses rights to the universe across series, film, and more, says the statement from Amazon Studios. This is the first kind of deal for Amazon Studios for IP of this scale, and it allows the company to utilise the title across its entertainment businesses. Side note to that, the first kind of deal of this scale, I'm like, sorry, they bought Lord of the Rings. You can't say Games Workshop and Warhammer is bigger than Lord of the Rings. Sorry, no offense to Warhammer, but it's just not. I love Warhammer. Can't wait for this Space Marine game that's going to come out next year as well. Henry Cavill, he's free of The Witcher. He's free of Superman, and this is now just his opportunity to double down and be the biggest nerd he possibly can do and executive produce an entire new universe.
This is it. This is
this guy living the dream.
I like about him. It's like, he is just a straight up nerd, and you've got to love it. It's like, this is 100% a passion project for him.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Like, we know he actually plays Warhammer, and it's like, you know what? I now have enough clout in Hollywood. I can go to Games Workshop. I can sit down with their CEO. I can have this meeting. Then I can take them conversations to Amazon, and like, go, Amazon, look, I'll star it. I'll executive produce it. Games Workshop are on board. Gives us a bag of cash and let's do some Warhammer.
Yeah, he's the like, biggest celebrity nerd out there, and he's essentially reached like Kojima levels of fame with gamers, where he's like an auteur now, where he just goes out and goes, I fancy doing this, and people will throw money at him to do the project. His actual post on Instagram as well, the announcement was, and I'll just read it verbatim because it's very passionate. This is from Henry Cavill's Instagram account. For 30 years, I've dreamt of seeing a Warhammer universe in live action. Now, after 22 years of experience in this industry, I finally feel that I have the skill set and the experience to guide a Warhammer cinematic universe into life. Partnering with Natalie Viscuso at Vertigo and have the blessing beyond words. Without her, we might not have found the perfect home at Amazon, and having a home like Amazon will give us the freedom to be a true to massive scope of Warhammer. To all of you Warhammer fans out there, I promise to respect this IP that we love. I promise to bring you something familiar, and I endeavour to bring you something fantastic that is, as of yet, unseen. Our first steps to define filmmaker, creator, writer. Watch this space, my friends, for the Emperor. And then he tags Warhammer and stuff a few times. But like, this guy knows. I watched the IGN interview during his Witcher press tour, where they essentially asked him, like, you're a big nerd, Henry. If you could do a Warhammer series in like the future, in like 5+ years time, who would you like to be? And you can immediately see, like, he thinks about it. He has a smile on his face. He's thinking about, oh, well, are you talking about 40k or fantasy? Because they're two different things, and I could play one in each.
He's deflecting.
And he's immediately, I mean, we don't know at the time, but you can see that kind of nerdy smile on his face where he's like, oh, I could play these guys, but then I kind of really like this particular type of person. And again, he just has that passion for it. And, you know what? Someone who's grew up with Warhammer. I used to do the little figurines and stuff, and that kind of got me into fantasy. And
I wonder if this is why he's decided to step down from The Witcher.
I mean, who knows? Like, he could be the next James Bond, for all we know as well.
Well, if he's to do this, he's executive producing and starring, and he's talking about a cinematic universe, not just a one-off series. That's going to be very time-consuming for him.
Yeah.
So and
he's got to play the games as well, Richie.
Yeah,
for research.
I've always loved how, like, when he's in like interviews and stuff with people who don't get the nerdy stuff, like how when they're asking him questions as if he's the wee one, he's just like, oh no, it's just like it's just kind of like the flex of like, no, like this is just normal. You guys just need to like grow up and accept this is what people do.
Like, he's at the cutting edge. You think he's 39 years old? We're 33, so he is essentially like the very precipice of that tipping point, I think, of video games. Like, a couple of years ahead of us were the people who kind of grew up with the NES and such. He is in that, like, the forefront of technology evolving. Like, he's the ultimate kind kind of millennial, really, isn't he? Except for he's got money and fame and richness and bravado and good looks and muscle and basically the ultimate human being specimen.
Hey, I'm a very wealthy, successful, talented man. What are you going to do with it? Play Warhammer?
Yep. Going to paint little figures.
But actually, no. I'm not going to play Warhammer. Well, I am going to play Warhammer. But when I'm taking a break from playing Warhammer, I'm going to bring Warhammer to the big screen.
Yeah.
Like, here we go.
It's crazy thinking like 10 years, like it could be a thing. But yeah, shout out to Henry Cavill. Again, bit gutted that he's not doing Superman anymore. I do kind of think he'd do a great James Bond, so there is always that there as well. But like you said, if he's going to shepherd in an entire cinematic games, TV, film, books, whatever it ends up compromising of, again, great to see. Final one for the week, just a bit of a funny one, just to throw it out there. This one's for you, Richie. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, of course, launched this past week. It's getting decent reviews. Loads of people out there enjoying it. Did you see the news this week that it was spotted, but there's a piece of artwork within the video game, and it was a little bit blurred, but you could see there was an imaging copyright watermark for Getty's Images in the game, so it made me chuckle because I just think some poor dev designer, it probably was just a placeholder piece of art that they forgot to take out.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you're Square Enix.
Just make something yourself.
Buy the art. Don't just steal it and put it as a placeholder. Just even if you just want to use it as a placeholder, just buy it. It's not like you don't have the budget for it.
Yeah, so the painting itself...
It just feels unnecessarily sloppy, to be honest.
So the painting in question can be found during Chapter 8 in the Shinra Manor. It's not used once, but 3 times on the wall. Kotaku did some research on Getty's Images itself and figured out the image matches the preview of Fleet Street across Ludgate Circus in London in 1881 by the artist John Crowther. In-game, the image can be seen edited to match the abandoned nature of the mansion, but if you zoom in close enough, the watermark is quite clear. According to the Design and Artistic Copyright Society, paintings enter the public domain in the UK 70 years after the artist's death, but the reproduction of the painting could be copyright in this case. This specific reproduction would belong to Getty Images, and you need to buy a license to reuse their image. A licensed version would have had the watermark removed. Unlucky Square Enix. Bit of a funny one. This kind of happens time and time again.
Yeah, but it's like one of them things. Like, you'd be pretty pissed if, like, you were the head of that team's like, how did this?
Who missed this?
Who's using unlicensed artwork in the game? Just don't do it.
All I'd like to think is hopefully there's not someone out there who's like, oh yeah, I totally painted that, boss. Yeah, I just did that over the weekend. Yeah, got my oil brushes out and just pulled something together. Really? No, I was playing Final Fantasy all weekend and I didn't really get around to the artwork. Yeah. So I just Googled it and dropped an image in there and nobody noticed. But you know what? With AI generation, that could be the future of that. But Final Fantasy Crisis Core doing really well. Are you thinking of picking it up, Richie, or are you going to pass on this one and wait for 16?
Eventually. I'm actually probably more interested in Crisis Core than 16.
Okay.
Because Crisis Core expands on the story of 7.
Yeah.
But I think it's a next year game for me. This might be one I play instead of Forspoken.
Oh, well, again.
As I said, there's a handful of stuff that's like drawing my attention.
It is, and your attention will be pulled every which way this coming year. But of course, you need to keep it every which way. You need to keep it locked to the channel so you're kept in loop with all of that great content, all of our great coverage right here on Talking the PS and the wider channel of Helix Plays Games, because as we mentioned, folks, there's loads of stuff to come in the new year. This show continues, XPass continues, CloudQuest is there, the live streams are there, the Let's Plays are there, and our brand new show, the ClickerCast, covering the Last of Us HBO show, kicks off in the new year as well. But that's been it for episode 27 of Talking the PS. Thank you very much for tuning in for this week's roundup and this week's news. Don't forget to go check out everything else. Shout out to our Helix heroes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
And it's a Merry Christmas from me. It's
a Merry... I don't know what it is.
It's Feliz Navidad. It's yours. I was going to give Rob the horrible German one that we always you usually fail with every year. Yeah. But he's not here. So, unfortunately, we'll have to get him on the next one, maybe. We'll see. Have a great Christmas, everyone. Boys and girls, stay safe, play some games, enjoy some time off with your loved ones, friends and family. Go build a snowman. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
Play wherever makes it happen.
Bye.